On this unprecedented episode of the Fine Dining Podcast, if you've ever eaten a belt, it does taste better with sauce on it.
Shoney's is the Eagle Scout of
I will not stand for what they did to me today.
From this point forward, the word cheese will be bleeped because Michael finds it offensive.
Greetings, friends, and welcome back to the Fine Dining Podcast, the search for the most mediocre restaurant in America, North Carolina edition. I am, like I say, traveling the country trying to find that perfectly middle, most mediocre chain restaurant. And this week took me to a state on the East Coast, North Carolina, as I explored Shoney's. And I went with my own dad.
We explored Shoney's.
We did, and it is currently exploring us, probably finding our vulnerabilities.
It's a trail I'll no longer follow.
It's waiting to attack. It is hunting us from within.
And perhaps for days.
It is still ground zero.
Yeah.
We are patient 0 and patient 1. This was a time.
It was a time.
Not a good time.
It was a time.
By the end of this episode,
you'll understand why.
You'll understand. So just kick back and suffer vicariously through us as we talk about Shoney's. If you're watching this show for the first time, I am looking for that perfectly middling 5.00 out of 10 dining experience because people say things are good, people say things are bad, but you need to know where it switches over. Where does good become bad? I'm looking to define that bar of mediocrity. And in this show, I'm evaluating restaurants on 3 criteria. I'm doing it based on their atmosphere,
based on their service,
and based on their food. Well, not in this case. There's no yummy here. There's more like a
it's different sound.
It's a grumble.
Fine dining party of 2.
Yeah, so that's the show. We'll get into it. Our table is finally ready.
Your table is ready, follow me. Have you tried our chicken breast? Serving pancakes and ribs, I recommend the spaghetti. We're here to satisfy, not to impress. Your table is ready, complimentary butter and bread. These walls have road signs, knick-knack, cowboy hat, good luck cat, autographed guitar, some crap from your city. Behold the Tchotchke of Mediocrity. Fine dining, just fine dining, fine dining. 2 letters on the sign aren't shining. Neon flickering, irregular timing. Identify the perfect 5 out of 10. Fine dining. Fine dining.
Atmosphere.
The first thing that we see when we pull up to this place is there's a truck outside.
It was like a Shoney's traveling food truck.
Which, why? It struck me as odd that Shoney's...
It just struck us as odd.
Well, no, but it didn't just strike me as odd. It made me wonder a question, Dad. It made me ask a little certain combination of words. Yeah, that's right. I'm doing it right up top because this is a place where my brain's all messed up. My chemistry is off in this episode. It makes me ask, Dad, what's going on over there?
What's going on over there? What's going on over there? Should I worry? Should I care? What is going on over there?
Dad, what's going on with that? How do you explain this truck? Because I have my theories.
The one thing I thought about is, especially being from Austin, classic food trucks, they have them all over the place with all different types of foods. But this Shoney's truck just sat there, and I'm thinking, where do you take it? Do you take it to like youth baseball, and there's snow cones and cotton candy, and then the Shoney's truck?
See, I think that's what they bought it with the intent for before they had so much food waste. And they're like, no one's coming over to the Shoney's truck with the creepy bear that says, let's eat.
Yep.
So I think they've repurposed this truck. I think it more serves as a hearse because we'll get into it shortly. The buffet. The buffet is a big part of the atmosphere of this restaurant.
It is.
And it is so clear that it does not all get used. It needs to be loaded into somewhere. It needs to be taken to, as the police call it in the case of missing persons, a secondary location.
If this is like day-old bread, you don't want it.
So you throw it in a truck and you drive it to a garbage dump and you just lift the truck off the ground, open the back doors, and you're like, go on, get where you belong, go free.
I bet you inside of that truck there's a front loader.
There's a front loader.
Or a back loader.
Oh, like a
like
a hydraulic.
It just tilts it right into the garbage, right into the dumpster.
Yeah, it is a hearse for shit buffet food.
Yep.
Look, I don't like being negative on this show. Shoney's earned it. It is important to underline the fact that Shoney's deserves what's coming to him.
Shoney's is the Eagle Scout of shit.
I don't know what that means, but that is in fact
what's going on over there.
What is going on over there?
The Eagle Scout of shit.
It's the highest achievement of scouts.
I get it. It's the black belt of shit.
It is the black belt of shit.
It is the Jedi Master of shit.
There you go.
Okay.
You have figured it out.
I figured it out. Oh, God. Okay. Yeah, so let's talk about this buffet. We go into the restaurant. The inside of the restaurant, it was
clean.
Sleek. I could tell that there was a modernization effort sometime in the last few years. I thought the logo was sleek. I thought that the red paint was bright and it popped off the wall. I went in there and my knee-jerk reaction was, this can't be that bad.
Their decals on the wall were fresh.
Yeah, they had an American flag on the wall embroidered with the word Shoney's, which is defacing Old Glory. Like, let's be real. It is illegal, technically, and against flag code to alter the American flag. And Shoney's felt it appropriate.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then on the far side of the room, we get seated at the closest booth. You're like, wow, what a walk.
Well, the other thing I noticed in terms of my my atmosphere is I turned around from my booth and there were cleaning solvents right behind my head.
Just spray bottles.
Just spray bottles waiting.
Because they know that he might get out of line and you have to...
Yeah, or I might, have some damaging food fall off my mouth, and I was a little nervous.
It's like that scene in Alien when they cut into the arm of the face hugger and it just goes through the deck. They're just prepared to be like, oh shit.
Yep, better spray him.
His food fell quick before it bleeds through his lap through the table.
It was great.
But on the far side of the room, opposite of where we are, there is a long buffet. And it's a gorgeous buffet if you're blind. This is a good-looking buffet if you're not looking at the food.
I think also if you don't have
if your tongue has been burnt.
Yeah, badly.
If you have no taste buds, you're in paradise. You will be fed.
It was a very interesting buffet from a presentation perspective. So as I looked at the buffet and we took the lap, both took the lap, I see these oyster crackers.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, there must be soup. And
they actually had a spread of different types of crackers. They had Ritz crackers, saltines, and oyster crackers all right next to each other. And then regrettably, the ill-fated...
the presentation or the presentment of the soups, they had clam chowder for one of the soups.
Imagine if you dunked a ladle in drying concrete and you tried to yank it up.
Well, it was actually concave inward, so the ladle actually made an impression where the soup stayed on the high side and the ladle was down at the bottom of the soup. And I said, that's not fresh.
Topographically speaking, you want your liquids flat.
You want your oceans calm. This was not.
When there's a soupnami.
That was a soup.
When there's a soupnami coming.
Oh, and I gotta say, the soup was bad. The mashed potatoes may have been worse.
Really?
Really. Same thing. It looked encrusted on the top.
Mashed potatoes are lumpy enough inherently that them being topographically...
creamy is how you want them.
Different?
I'll give you that. So you can have some variability in terms of the surface.
The surface level, yeah.
The brown spots through it usually aren't included. Excuse me.
It's like a fake tanning bed. When the heat lamp is giving you sunburn, you've been there a little too long.
And when I go to an order when it's a la carte, I don't say, hey, I'd like a side of mashed potatoes with the brown spots on it.
How do you like your potatoes? Browned.
I could go on. The lettuce tray looked like they just went and bought it at a Kroger's. I'll say that because I'm in the South.
Well, but no, here they have Ingles.
They do have Ingles.
They have Ingles here.
And it looked like one of those bags of just lettuce that you open up and just let it dump into the... It didn't look inviting.
I will say, of the proteins, only the chicken was confidently identifiable.
Identifiable is the term I would use.
I saw what I thought was a beef and what I thought was a pork product, but I cannot confidently label either one.
You at least had it better than me because you couldn't identify it. I actually saw the server, not the server, but the attendant
To the buffet.
rolling what I think is Salisbury steak in circles to make the gravy come up and make it look a little bit fresher.
Yeah.
Ugh.
You know when someone's drowning, there's always a last bubble. That's what you got.
Yeah. And I can again confidently say the only thing that looked reasonable in the entire buffet was the mac and cheese. Probably because somebody beat me there and turned it.
Yeah. Well, according to Yelp from Strangers, they have the best fried chicken of any restaurant that person has ever been to.
That person came from a different country.
To be fair, we did not venture a taste.
Well,
we do not know.
I was fearful to
We
taste.
do know, like in our heart of hearts.
Yeah.
But we don't know from experience.
There are things that you look at and you say, I'm not going to...
I think I'm okay.
Yeah. I think I'm fine.
I think I'm good.
Yeah. So as a presentation of the atmosphere for the buffet, I'm less than...
less than enthused?
Yes, less than enthused. That would be true. I was going to say, not in awe.
Not a good buffet. And I do think that the truck backs into the emergency exit that the buffet faced, and I wouldn't be surprised if they actually could wheel the whole buffet just into the truck.
I'm surprised they didn't have a garage door that just opened up so that you wheel the buffet into the truck and move it onto the morgue.
Or just so you can fill the place with carbon monoxide and give it over with.
Yeah.
Sorry if that's dark. It's just how I feel. I do think "Let's Eat" is kind of a funny slogan. It's so minimal effort, but it's kind of trying to force you to do a thing that they're like, look, we got to get rid of this
It's
food.
almost like a question. Let's
eat. Yeah. They did have like a mascot bear that was on the side of the truck. I asked the server what the name was of this bear, and they just said, Shoney's? And I was like...
They weren't confident in any of their answers. They all look like they'd been working there for years, or they've been working there for one day.
Well, they had gleaned the experience of one day's worth because that's
all you need.
What it felt was required. Now, I will say they sold stuffed Shoney's, but it comes in like a body bag.
Appropriately.
Appropriate. So. But I'm gonna open this little guy. Shoney's. Be happy. Don't tell me what to do. Why don't you do some work to manifest this? Make this happen with your offerings.
They are minimalist.
Not forcibly.
Let's eat and be happy.
That's kind of their way of just being like, look, don't complain. Stop it.
That should be their new logo.
Don't complain.
Don't complain.
Shoney's. Don't complain. Can you imagine? You drive up. Would you walk through the doors of a restaurant that on the outside just had its name and then don't complain? Would you turn back?
I would. Yeah, I would.
I think I would too. I really do. Yeah, it's not stunning. Outside, you saw a sign.
Well, they did have specials on Friday, so they wanted you to know that as you drove by or as you parked in the parking lot, and they had Friday crab legs. And I'm thinking to myself, with all the quality of that buffet, the one thing you want is crab legs from Shoney's.
So yeah, the one thing you want is crustaceans.
Yeah,
the things where
things
it's
that
like
don't spoil.
Now, speaking of rotten,
yes.
Almost immediately upon sitting down, I heard behind me Look, we went through so much that you almost forgot about this, and this would have been a standout moment anywhere else that we went. But, the clientele does factor into a place's atmosphere because it's who you attract. Who are you attracting to your restaurant? And there were 2 older women, not like elderly, but older women. One of them gets up, goes to the bathroom, and tells the other one, "Don't forget to get my strawberry pie. I'm going to run to the bathroom." And she goes to the bathroom and she's gone 5 minutes, comes back and just says, "Don't use the handicap stall. There's a poop that wouldn't flush. I don't know if it was going to overflow, but I wasn't about to find out." Way to take responsibility for your actions. At least tell an employee.
It was a fairly quiet restaurant, so you could hear that echo throughout.
Yeah. You just see a bunch of people.
giving it the evil eye.
I will say that about 60% of the people there looked confused. Like they were of the age to where they need a caretaker to...
A lot of Crocs.
...describe their surroundings to them. There were a lot of Crocs. There were a lot of Crocs. And then I guess the last thing, other than like the unnerving buffet that I noticed, was that there were secret desserts on a placard. There were 3 listed on the menu and then an additional 3 on a table topper with the original 3. So there were 6 total there.
And the confusing part was the placard had the secret desserts, and if you turn it around, it was all of their liquor.
Yeah.
So you could have beer, wine, or turn it around.
And diabetes.
And diabetes. And the desserts were on the other side. So.
Shoney's, we're coming for your liver and your kidneys. Who needs a renal system?
Who needs it?
Shoney's.
Shoney's. The dialysis center was right next to it as well, too.
Yeah. Shoney's, don't complain. I'm going to go 2 thumbs down on this atmosphere. It was clean and sleek, but that buffet, the alleged floater... Oh, you went into the men's bathroom.
I did, and Michael was not fortunate enough to go into the restroom. However, it had an overwhelming odor of Clorox.
Which is better than most alternatives, I will say.
Yeah, my pants were slightly burned as I walked out of the stall. So you knew it was clean.
With a question mark.
Clean?
Don't complain.
Yeah,
Don't complain. We did bleach it.
It was bleached.
Don't complain.
My hands are still splotchy, but we should be okay.
Yeah. I'm going 2 thumbs down on this atmosphere.
I got to join you.
And that buffet was just so uninviting.
You could talk about the cleanliness walking in, but there were so many overriding factors that I can't give it any thumb up.
Like all the goodwill that they developed from just looking sleek, gone.
Gone.
Service.
There was a heavy push towards the buffet up top. They didn't give us menus.
They did not. That's right. They assumed that we were going straight for the buffet.
Yeah.
And then when we asked for it,
she literally pointed toward the buffet.
Yeah.
With the menus before handing it to us.
Are you sure you don't? So can we talk about our orders, or can we talk about taking the order?
Yeah. Let's please.
So as one of the meals selected, there was a sandwich called the Slim Jim.
Which
I said
on bread.
On bread, that's right. It was ham and pickles and lettuce.
But I do think it was licensed official Slim Jim cut of meat.
Oh, well, that's horrible.
Because it had the registered trademark.
It did have the trademark
next to Slim Jim.
Well, in terms of the service, I just remember the woman, the server coming up, and when I asked about the Slim Jim, she said, "If you're into it," and I said,
"It was. I mean, if you're into that sort of thing,
if you're into that sort of thing," and I said, "Well, people,
is it popular?
Is it
people order it." That doesn't answer. Is it popular?
I've seen it ordered. It was not a vote of confidence. It didn't inspire me.
To be fair, I feel like if we asked her, "What do you like here?" she would have been like, "Mm-mm."
Or she would have said, "The buffet."
Or the exit.
The exit's probably the more. Yeah, it was an interesting order take
I will say of our server, she had like a really weird, bouncy, but kind of bashful walk. She was almost embarrassed to approach us every time she came up. I don't know if you noticed that in her body language, but it was like, have you decided?
Yeah, when you say she was embarrassed to approach us, so she didn't very often.
That is unfortunate. Well, she approached us many times up top to try and get our order in.
No, to try to point us to the buffet.
Well, once she realized that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, right. Then it was a very infrequent visit.
The check drop, the difference between the check drop and the check pickup, that's the spot where it just baffles me, where they drop a check and it's 15 minutes before you see them. I don't understand that practice.
They dropped the check just after we ordered.
Oh, she did put the check on the table. And then later we wanted dessert and she went, oh, let me adjust this.
I'll have to take that back then.
It's like, yeah, well, we didn't need it. Yeah. But then an older woman that worked there came over to me. Now, not going to talk about it yet, but I did order a steak.
You did
I got like the steak and eggs breakfast, which to me is very different from like when you're going out for steak. It's like, you're getting a steak, but I don't have high expectations.
And you didn't ask for the world. You asked for scrambled eggs and steak.
Yes, I asked for scrambled eggs and steak. I was not asked how I would like the steak prepared. And this older woman who, it's like when you're watching a TV show and they introduce a new character midway through the season as though you missed something. Like she came in like we had met. Look, your well done steak is not ready yet. And in my mind, I'm like, well done.
And then I looked at Michael. Then I looked at Michael. I said, "Did you order well done?"
I was asked. I was given no such option.
You were not given an option.
And she was like, "Oh, well, it's taken a while because it's thick. This is not an accurate."
It's not.
She was like, "I can fillet it for you."
I was a little concerned when she was stating that the steak is going to come out well done.
And then I was like, "Oh, I don't need it well done." And she was like,
"You did."
And it still took another few minutes because she was making sure it was nice and well done.
Damn sure that was well done.
Damn sure. And then when it arrived, she kind of like held me at gunpoint. She was like, "Cut it." Let me see you cut into that.
That she did.
Ma'am, I'm uncomfortable.
But you were.
I obliged.
You did.
So the scale. Extra rare, a.k.a. blue.
Yep.
Rare.
I know the scale.
Medium rare.
Yep.
Medium.
Yep.
Medium well. Well done. And then there's what this was. Way too much.
It was.
This is.
It was,
they invented a new category of how to cook steak with this.
Michael and I had steak a couple of, maybe 3 or 4 days ago, and we talked about, you always want to have the steak rest because it continues to cook after she pulled it off the stove.
It basically went from black to dark black.
It went from black to leather.
I had a Vanta Black. Do you know what Vanta Black is?
No, but I'm sure it's bad.
It's a shade of paint that they use that literally absorbs all light, that it makes stuff look invisible. It's crazy. Just look up stuff painted with Vanta Black.
I will.
You lose all definition.
Well, whatever the blackest thing in the world was, that was your
the
steak.
It was the steak. And it was, in fact, way too much. Now, there was one other girl wandering around. She had a mask on that whenever she would talk, she would pull down. And I'm just, at that point, just take it off.
Just take it off.
Just, she picked up our check. I asked her about the bear, and she just walked away.
It was a complicated question.
And then our server came up to the front and was like looking at a check that wasn't ours and was like, "What's this?" She was like, "I don't know. I'm going back there. I'm checking on the bear." And she was like, "It's in the system." She shrugged and then continued to walk away.
It was not only in the system, it was on the shelf right next to her. So,
well, ringing it up is what she was trying to figure it out. But yeah, it wasn't great service. I ended up thinking that our waitress she had like a funness to her, but her not giving us great service did eclipse any personality bump that she gets.
I think
I'm going to go 1 thumb down on service. I'm not going to go all the way to 2 thumbs down because I didn't feel like they hated me. And that is kind of a prereq I need to get 2 thumbs down.
Is that the benchmark?
That's the benchmark of 2 thumbs.
Okay.
It is a very strong 1 thumb down.
I'll join you. She had a smile. She did pour my tea, and she brought 2 more cups or glasses of tea. So,
yeah.
So
and she did bust the table when she brought the dessert because she started to walk away, and I went, "Can you please take these?"
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. She didn't give an attitude, but I could tell she didn't want to.
And when she said, "Do you want me to box up?" We'll talk about this at the food, but
You flinched.
I flinched.
Do you want to box up?
No.
I don't want this near me again.
No, I need it to go in the truck, please.
I feel like if I put this in the backseat of my car and drive home, it's going to like garrote me around the neck.
Yeah, I will go with a solid 1 thumb
An
down.
earned 1 thumb down.
Yes, if anything, they've earned this.
Yes.
Hey, Michael, this is Travis coming to you today from a very sunny Ontario, Canada. Wanted to share my own little experience with you about a little restaurant called Shoney's. So, like you, my friends and I, we love mediocre fast food chain restaurants, and I have a little list of those going up here for you if you ever come to Canada. I think you're going to love it. We were on a road trip through the U.S., and we were coming through Georgia when we decided we needed to stop for lunch. So one of my friends suggested that we stop at Shoney's, but not just any Shoney's. Shoney's in Ackworth, Georgia. The reason why Ackworth? The Shoney's there was operated and owned by none other than former professional wrestler Scott Steiner. If anyone here is not familiar with Scott, often known as Big Papa Pump or the Genetic Freak, the man has arms the size of your head. Like, he could just crush your skull with one hand if he wanted to. He's a scary man. And we get there, and he's got his memorabilia everywhere, and we get inside, we get our food, and it's pretty mediocre. You know, we're pretty satisfied because we like our mediocre foods as well. And at one point, Scott starts coming around. He's checking in with everybody. He's seeing how everything is. And when he gets to our table and he checks in with us, we tell him everything's fine. And I make a little joke about the ham cubes that they have. So this goes back to when his restaurant was featured on a podcast where they review things like this. And a lot of people were making jokes about the ham cubes, which evidently he took personally. He was not happy that I made a little crack about it. And he stormed off without saying much of a word. We had a good laugh about it. We figured it was all said and done. And then not long after, the waitress came by with our receipt and said that you guys are done. We were going to ask about dessert, and she said we were not welcome to stay for dessert, pay your bill, and get the hell out. So, you didn't like my little joke, cost us dessert, but that's okay. Made for a great story. Thanks, Michael.
Food. Yum, yummy.
All right. So now we're going to talk about the food.
The one thing I'll start out with is at least the portions were humongous.
Whoop. Do you know what that is, Dad?
No?
You've watched the show enough. You should know at this point. This is the secret menu mini game, Dad.
Oh.
This is the alarm. You said
Special
the trigger word, the special word, the word of the day, humongous.
Oh.
Because Shoney's, as established in last week's episode, used to be in the Big Boy family, as in Bob's, Frisch's, Shoney's
Big Boy, right?
And so in honor of Big Boy, this week's category for the secret menu is Big Boy Foods. Now you can play along at home, play in the comments, wherever you see this on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and I'll pick out a favorite and I'll send you a fine dining t-shirt.
And your winner for the previous secret menu mini game from the American Girl Cafe Unfun Children's Toys category is YouTube user Achu1112. Bless you. With your pitch, Nerfed Guns. So go ahead, reach out to me on Instagram or TikTok at Fine Dining Podcast, or email me, finediningpodcast@gmail.com, and I will get you your Fine Dining t-shirt on its way. Thanks for playing. Better luck next time, everyone, and on to this week's game.
So this is gigantic men mixed with food, like Wilt Chamberlain or Snacky Gleason. So I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock. We're going to trade back and forth, and we're just going to say as many jokes as we can. You ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
How about Shake Shaquille O'Neal?
Shake Shack. Arnold Schwarzeneggos.
In the honor of the country music out here, coffee with jelly roll.
Jelly roll. KFC Green.
No, CeeLo. A rock band from my days. Mountain with Leslie Wasabi.
Dumb. All right. Famed director Michael Moore. More.
Peaches and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Ruth's Chris Christie.
There. Okay. From American Idol, Ruben Studdard.
Oh, Ruben, it's in the name. Hulk Hoagie.
How about Denny's McLean?
All right, going with another wrestler, Picandre the Giant.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah.
From Happy Gilmore and James Bond, Richard Kielbasa.
That'll do it for the secret menu. Don't forget, comment below. Give me your entry for Big Boy Food, and you can win a fine dining t-shirt, the very one that he is rocking right here in his rocking chair. Yeah, the food portions were humongous in some cases, and in others, kind of disappointing. So let's go over what we got. There were no appetizers. There was no section for appetizers on the menu, which at a restaurant like this, a sit-down restaurant, is actually pretty rare. They had entrees, sandwiches, sides, all-day breakfast,
You would
and
think for
desserts.
appetizers here, they'd have fried everything, and they had nothing.
You would think so. I think the buffet is kind of their substitute,
Yeah.
but I ain't going near it. I'm not going to do it.
I'm not sure for the soup, I could have pulled the ladle out to actually.
It's like Excalibur. Only
sword in the stone.
only the righteous.
It's the sword in the
Yeah.
stone.
I got the Shoney's steak breakfast, which was steak and eggs. It was like a sirloin with sides of my choice. I got breakfast potatoes, and they were out of biscuits. And so they offered me pancakes, which was actually an upgrade that they gave me for free. So I took the pancakes just to try them out. And you got the Slim Jim.
I got the Slim Jim.
Totally by choice, by your choice.
Oh, yeah.
That you made.
Yeah, that was my choice.
You made the choice
You know,
to get the Slim Jim. It was not urged by me
Not
at all.
And people do order it.
I mean, if you're into that sort of thing.
My Slim Jim did have a side of fries.
Yes.
So
And so let's talk about sides first. Your fries, I think your first bite, you said they were pretty good. Did that change as you continued to eat them?
they were erratic or inconsistent. So
Okay.
some of the fries were decent, and some felt like they've been sitting in oil that's been around too long. So
Oil that can vote.
oil that can vote. So I think they might have mixed the batches into a big container and
Yeah.
had a heat lamp on them and made some fresh and some dug up old.
I tried one and it tasted like the skin or like the peel of the potato just way too strongly, which I do like potato skins, but it was just so strong and not enough potato taste, not enough even like fried crispy taste for me, that the one fry I had, I gave a 4 out of 10, the low end of mediocre. I didn't hate it, but I was not happy with it.
I gave my fries a 4.6, so I think we're kind of in the same area.
Yeah,
It
so
was-
even with some being good, the inconsistency still only brought you only a little higher.
right.
And then my side, I got breakfast potatoes, which,
Hard to mess up.
people ate them. I ate them.
People eat.
I kept picking at them as I will call the most tolerable part of my meal. But even then, I went 5 out of 10.
Okay, I did not taste.
You didn't try my
I did not
breakfast
try your
potatoes.
breakfast potatoes. So
You did try my side pancake,
I did.
and you had a pretty funny exclamation
My
when you bit it.
well, there's two things. First of all, it's pretty hard to screw up a pancake.
Yeah.
However, the inside of the pancake was incredibly dry, so thank God they had lots of syrup.
Yeah. Well, you literally said, how does it manage to be dry with syrup?
Yeah,
It was a paradox. Don't complain.
I'm not complaining. It's a new logo.
Shoney's don't complain. I thought the pancakes were good when they were warm, and they had a sharp drop off. So I'm going to average the two out and say it was like a 5.5 out of 10. But once they cooled off, I was like down in the 3s.
I stayed right at 4. Maybe we were thinking the same thing. I never had the high.
You didn't
point
have it
'cause-
warm, yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of went straight to the 4.
It had a crispy ring on the edge, which I always like that in a first bite on something that's bready.
Yep.
So that first bite was good, and then everything else is just like, oh, this is just busy work.
As a master of pancake making,
This man, every Christmas morning, you can request a shape of a pancake, and he will make it using all sorts of hacks.
I do. Yep.
This slice of bacon is eyebrows.
You're going to have to post some of those pancakes.
I can put some pictures. The best one you did was when I was about to leave for Japan, I asked for, instead of like the shape of like, you know, when I was in 8th grade, you made Stewie Griffin. You've done Dr. Zoidberg. You've done different cartoon characters. But when I was leaving for Japan, I was like, make me pancake sushi. And I called them the Japancakes. And it was literally rolls like of pancake with different fruits inside and like potatoes and bacon. And they were genuinely really delicious. And I think the assembly process caused them to cool down. But if you could find a way to make them and keep them hot, they would be a marketable thing. That
Did you like the kiwi wasabi?
The kiwi wasabi, yeah, he just had a bunch of scrambled up kiwi on the side that was to be
so as
wasabi.
As a master of pancake making, this was not
lacking.
Yeah,
it was lacking.
Not great.
And then there's.
Do you want to talk about the Slim Jim?
Yeah, let me just say my eggs were eggs. All right. As average an egg as you can get. It was fine.
So on the Slim Jim, which is effectively like a hoagie, not a pressed sandwich.
Not a Hulk hoagie.
It was a Hulk hoagie. With
Even though Slim Jim is Macho Man Randy Savage.
Which was lettuce, pickles, some form of ham.
Some form of it was Slim Jim brand ham.
And it had
melted Swiss.
Melted Swiss and Thousand Island dressing. I can honestly say the highlight of the sandwich was the Thousand Island dressing.
The distraction from the
it was
other
the
flavors.
Distraction from the other taste, and you know, a little messy, not horrible. I got through about half of the sandwich, and chose to leave the rest
to donate it to science.
No, to put it into the truck, into the grave,
the
truck.
Watery grave.
Yep. So. Yeah. Would I order it again?
People order it.
People do. I'm not sure I would order this again, but I did eat half of it.
What was the score?
The score was 2.56.
Not an endorsement.
There's no ringing endorsement in this this meal.
Yeah. And then there was my steak. My belt.
Oh, the steak.
This thing was, look, people will be dramatic and say it was like leather. And that subtracts from how poignant it is right now when I compare this to leather. She asked me to cut it in front of her at gun. You cut the fucking steak. She had a knife right here. And she was like, you cut the steak and show me. And then you eat it. Don't complain. And I, the sucker that I am, cut it, ate it. And she's like, I can remake it. And I was like, no. Because in my mind, this is your bed. Lie in it.
Yeah,
I don't want you to get another chance.
Actually,
I'm here to review you. Come as you are.
What I was thinking is I could remake it, and you said
worse.
That's exactly what it is. It could be worse.
Yeah,
it was.
I didn't say that, by the way. I have manners. I'm not saying this to these people to their faces.
You know, it was bad when you cut it, and the inside of it looked like black blood sausage. It's not good.
No, this thing. The exterior and the interior, there was no differential in color.
Nope.
And it was just dark black. And I ate it. Didn't like it.
You didn't eat all of it.
And I think this is I think it's the first time. I gave it a 0 out of 10.
Wow.
This is the worst steak I've had in my life. Now, I've been spoiled in that I've had some very good steaks. And I would say that the average steak that I've had has been above the normal average. I haven't had too many bad steaks, but this was a bad steak.
And as a proud dad, you've done a good job of learning how to make a good steak.
Yeah.
This was a bad steak.
This made me appreciate my own cooking a little more. I was like, I'm not doing half bad.
So you gave it a full 0.
You did taste it.
I did. However, I wasn't obligated to eat half of it.
No, I gave you a small mercy bite.
You gave me a mercy bite, and I saw the waitress looking at you like, finished it. And
I'm sorry, he didn't order that. It's like when you charge someone for the buffet when they just had like a pickle off your plate.
Your mom's famous for that.
2 buffets.
Your mom's famous for that. Hey, can you bring me a couple of these from the buffet? And then they look at you like you stole, Grand Theft Auto.
I just want 2 raisins.
Is
a raisin okay?
So anyways.
For $19.99, you can have a raisin.
For the one bite, and in my air of generosity, I gave it a 0.7.
Give it a 0.7 out of 10.
0.7.
So between us, we couldn't even crack a 1.
Could not even
on this steak.
Not even close.
It was bad. And yet I was hungry enough that I ate 80% of it.
Yeah, you did. I was wondering why you're doing that.
And boy, did she make it sound like it was going to be a hefty steak. It was like
it was
thin. No wonder it was so well done. And it was like
it was a full Salisbury
steak. It was like a triangle, which a triangle is not a shape that occurs in nature when you're serving steaks.
By the way, I think it was a ribeye, wasn't it? It was supposed to be a ribeye?
I don't know.
Oh, whatever it was burnt.
This was not an identifiable meat. It was like the buffet meat. It was not
good.
Fun. Yeah, it was not good. And then, to top it all off, the punch in the back of the head, Shoney's world-famous hot fudge cake. This thing had, what I wrote was a texture for the elderly. It was like Gerber baby food pretending to be shaped into a chocolate cake, and it had like a layer of ice cream in it and on top of it with big whipped cream and a cherry on top. And while the taste wasn't bad, it was just, I was like, why? Why am I eating this? It is not, if it's world famous, look, we could go to Dubai and no one's going to recognize this cake. They are lying about world famous.
This wasn't even famous in Waynesville. So I'm telling you, when the best thing in the entire dessert was the vanilla ice cream, it's not world famous.
Yeah. It just, the texture was so weirdly mushy.
And didn't you say there was some funky taste that you got out of the
ice
cream?
Yeah. I did take a bite and I was like, my throat is burning.
Not a normal response from
to an
vanilla.
ice cream dessert.
Right.
My throat is burning, but it was like in that acidic, chemically way, which doesn't happen to me often. Look, I'm using words that people who complain about food use all the time, and I think they're overused, and it undercuts it when I use it. Leather for the steak, chemically for the dessert. It really was.
It was.
Check my track record. Go listen to every episode. I don't use those terms often to describe things. I'm a lobster in a boiling pot. I'm honestly pretty happy with most things, and I can handle the bullshit. But I will not stand for what they did to me today, what they did to us today with my own father inside of a Shoney's.
They had that sign both sides. They had it as you enter and as you exit. It says, "Don't complain."
Yeah. I went 4.6 out of 10 on the hot fudge.
That was generous.
The famous hot fudge cake. But what's your score for it?
3.91.
3.91. I want to talk about my saving grace. The Heinz 57. They brought me my steak and they were like, would you like an A1 or a 57? And I was like, ooh, I've never heard of 57 before. I've heard of A1. And you were like, oh, it's Heinz 57. I immediately was like, oh, is this like a ketchup-esque thing? They brought it. And if you've ever eaten a belt, it does taste better with sauce on it. I can guarantee that.
Yep.
So the Heinz 57 put in a little bit of work. So thanks, Heinz. You made this steak that scored a 0.
Tolerable. Edible.
You made this steak stay down.
Yeah. There you go. Digestible.
Thanks, Heinz. Overall, I think it's no surprise this food gets 2 thumbs down.
If I could go more, I would.
If you wait a few days, you're going to have like a weird mutant third thumb that comes out of your body.
There will be a new phalange here, I'm sure.
So you could give it that third thumb down in a few days because this thing will change you.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was an experience.
2 thumbs down for you as well?
2 thumbs.
Yeah.
As I said, if I had 3, I'd give it.
We have to put this together into a rating, but before we do, we got to calibrate because, look, not everyone's done as many episodes as me. I'm bringing a new person on from week to week. and people's rating scales are different. Everyone's always jumping to give that perfect 5. We got to calibrate. So, Dad, before we do, we got to hit the calibration station.
Calibration Station. Comparing this meal to the best of the worst. Calibration Station. Chugga, 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 choo-choo.
Now, in the calibration station, I just want to hear real briefly, what is your 0 out of 10 meal, the worst meal of your life in 30 seconds, and then your 10 out of 10, the best meal you've ever had, described in about 30 seconds. Start with the 0.
The worst meal that I can remember is surprisingly in France.
Oh.
And I had this sausage called, I think it was called andouille.
Oh, yeah. I like andouille sausage.
Well,
maybe not there.
Not the
but
way
like
this,
when it's in like a gumbo or something like that.
No, this was prepared and served sort of by itself.
Yeah.
And all I could remember is I took a bite. It smelled like piss. And I don't know about you, but as you're consuming anything edible and putting it into your mouth, piss is not what you look forward to.
You know,
and I don't
remember. People have fetishes.
Yeah, well, this one.
But it ain't mine.
It ain't mine either. And I don't remember the exact name of the restaurant, but I'm sure it was something like Le Shit or Le Crap.
Le Chateau.
Yeah, it was something, but it was a sidewalk cafe restaurant.
Honestly, Dad, if they name themselves that, it's kind of on you for eating
that. They didn't, but it was not good. And the best, I'm going to say, probably just a good, great steak place.
Yeah.
Maestro's I keep calling them Maestros. I don't know why.
Mastro's isn't a word in the lexicon. A maestro is. So, okay. I mean, I get making that leap, but yeah, it's Mastro's.
So anyways, great steak, great atmosphere. We had a great atmosphere and a great meal. And so
we ate that steak at Tchotchke.
Oh, also very, very good.
That was a fantastic meal.
Yeah, that was a very good place.
That I would say is one of the 10 out of 10 meals I've had in my life.
Yeah, so. And I think in general, if you go to really top tier steak places,
the service and atmosphere are going to match.
Yeah, I think the one you mentioned is actually even better than
Mastro's.
Yeah. Really great steak, great service. Probably the best service I've had.
Awesome.
I drink a lot of water, and I think at that place
it's a race.
It's a race.
They're actually pouring more water into your glass as you're drinking it. They're like, look, you're going to have a full cup or I'm going to quit this job.
It was phenomenal. So.
Yeah.
Final rating.
Okay, great. So we're nice and calibrated. We now know how to fairly place Shoney's. Is it closer to Tchotchke or Le Shit?
Well,
Le Pisse and Shit.
Yeah, I can assure you, you know where it's going to land.
Oh, okay.
It's not 0.
It's not 0.
Yeah.
Well, talk me through it.
Well, I think you know, as I mentioned, the steak, very, very low. The pancakes, subpar. I said the best part about this meal is the iced tea. And how can you screw
Which
that?
is like from a dispenser that they didn't make.
Right.
Yeah.
So I am in shock and awe of Shoney's.
Yeah.
I was unfortunate enough to have a really terrible meal. I believe you had even a worse meal.
Yeah.
And again, the only thing that was a salvation for me was the fries and the pancakes, which are throwaways.
Yeah.
So as an overall rating, I gave it a 1.52.
You went 1.52. I somehow had a worse meal than you, but a better rating.
Oh.
And I think I find it hard to be as harsh on service, even though they're like putting a knife at my throat and telling me to cut the steak in front of them. I'm just like, yeah, but they're not spitting on me. So
yeah, well, that's a highlight.
Food, trash, buffet, ruined the atmosphere. But otherwise, like, I didn't hate the way it looked and stuff. But yeah, get that buffet out of there. Shoney's, I went 1.46. So when you average our scores together.
That's lower than me. I was 1.52.
Dad, I've been through a lot today. And one of those things is a meal at Shoney's.
Yeah.
My chemistry is not
It may take days.
It is not operating
It's like
at equilibrium.
You know, since you don't drink in college, it would be called a bad drunk about the third day you come out of it.
Yeah. Lower than you. 1.46. Averages together, Shoney's, a new worst restaurant in the history. The journey of the Fine Dining Podcast goes up on the Tchotchke of Mediocrity when I get home to Los Angeles. 1.49.
Wow.
Less than mediocre, not quite as good as Cracker Barrel.
I'd like to say I'm honored to participate in the lowest rating, but I'd be lying to you.
Next time we'll try and find a new bottom.
Yeah, or no, let's go. Let's have somebody else do that. Why don't you? Let's find me a midpoint
a
or
Morton's, a Ruth's Chris,
yeah,
a Landry's.
Yes,
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. Okay, so Shoney's 1.49 on the Tchotchke. You know what a 1.49 isn't?
Mediocre.
It's not a 5.00, which means I got to go somewhere next time.
You do.
I got to keep looking. And so we've got a makeshift You Must Bowl. This is for me, Dad.
Okay.
Come on. You've seen the show. Whoop. That didn't work out. Next week, I am going to...
Dun, 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 dun.
Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen.
Oh, wow. I've heard of that.
Awesome. So that is where I will go next week. Dad, thank you for joining me on the Fine Dining Podcast.
Great to be here.
Give them all your social media plugs. I'm just kidding. You're not social media guy.
I'm not social.
You're not social. He sits in a corner. He waits for me to call. It's sad. It's really
sad.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Dad, thanks for coming on.
Great.
Thanks for joining me. Even though, it builds character to go through adversity with your own father.
Yeah.
That's what happened here today.
This restaurant was the Navy SEAL training of bad food.
Can your stomach handle it? You're not cut out for this. Yeah. We put ourselves to the test, but thanks for coming on. We didn't find the most mediocre restaurant in America. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Fine Dining Podcast. I'm posting clips of these restaurants. Sometimes I do little features on restaurants that aren't in the mediocrity category. I've covered fancy little pastry places in Los Angeles and just kind of fun themed things. I went to a chain event. If you guys know what chain is, it's a pop-up chain restaurant inspired but done by Michelin star chefs.
Cool.
Run by BJ Novak from The Office. Those are, I've done little videos on that. They're cool. Go check them out. Send me an email, finediningpodcast@gmail.com. Check out the Patreon for extended Yelp from Strangers segments, an exclusive monthly episode, including the upcoming September tournament semifinals and finals. You'll get to hear that at the end. So if you follow along for the whole month and you want to know who won, you got to go to Patreon. The search does, in fact, continue. We'll see you next time. Have a fine day.
The search continues. We still need the perfect five. The search continues. Like and subscribe. The search continues. Our journey did not conclude. The mother effing search continues. Write us an iTunes review. And hey, while you're at it, why don't you go ahead and make it 5 stars, huh? Come on. Follow us on TikTok, the same on Instagram, all the socials at Fine Dining Podcast. We have a website, finediningpodcast.com. Buy our t-shirts, then put them on. And don't forget, you can always suggest where we go next. Okay, we're going to find it. Mediocrity. The search continues. See you next week. Hurt my throat a little.
Have a fine day.